communication gap over here in order to let you know the right track in order to for the session. So the current session, what we are going to deal up with is an SAP HANA demo session. Okay, not a logistics one. So Deepak and Sidhu, just to give you a brief outage of what exactly the content that we are going to deal up with right now. Clear?
So I was looking for SAP HANA to get into some logistics business or supply chain management business, because most of them ask for SAP.
That's what you want to go with, a functional related certification content or a techno-functional content of HANA. So you have to logistics one or S4 logistics one or a regular HANA one.
I just want regular HANA one as of now.
Okay. So your expectation is to get some content related to HANA and try for an opportunity in Bangalore.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Not in Bangalore, anywhere in India.
Perfect. Got it. Well, so before I get into the content, what is the fundamental idea you guys have, Deepak and Sadia, regarding SAP HANA?
This is as of now what I understand is like this ERP tool. You can have inventory management with this, and a couple of creating PO orders and.
So this is a modeling content, but still you can understand what exactly HANA is all about.
Okay.
So do you have any inputs or idea about what exactly SAP HANA?
HANA is we are having the data on cloud, and the database is much faster because we are not having physical drives or physical storage to store the data. So that is all about HANA, and the performance is also good because the in and out speed, data reading speed is faster than the physical drive.
Okay.
And it is cost effective as well.
So fundamentally, I hope before I continue, hope you're able to hear me better. So what we're going to say is in the next couple of minutes, we're going to talk about and understand something about. So first, let me talk about a proof point. So the reason behind placing this slide as a proof point is to let you know the power and the capabilities related to HANA. So if you see this slide, this is a use case with a customer who is from a CPG sector. And if you see this use case, and this was a story 5 years old one, okay? If you see this, clearly we can understand it's talking about 70 retailers, 460 billion records, and 50 terabytes of data. So we're talking about 50 terabytes of data, and the query execution is just 0.04 seconds. Similarly, this is one more use case which talks about two major hallmarks of a database. One is data compression, and the other one is query execution. So you can clearly notice on a traditional database, let's say I placed a certain amount of data, it took close to 42 GB of space. The same amount of information when I placed on top of HANA, it just took 6.6 GB of space. So what is happening here? How exactly this compression rate is happening? Or how exactly this query execution is faster compared to any other traditional databases? What are the reasons behind it? Some of the underlying things that we have to understand as a HANA consultant to drive ourselves in the world of HANA as a part of opportunities. We'll see them. What are the reasons behind them? Okay. But with this fundamental idea, before we start understanding about HANA a bit more in detail, what it is, let's see, let's try to understand about the benefits of it. And whatever the blah 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 that you have heard, Sadhya, you get to know about the details of it, or the benefits that if a customer goes with an implementation of HANA, what are the fundamental business advantage that he's going to gain? We, as a customer, he's gonna invest crores of rupees in implementing a solution like HANA, and return on investment everyone looks after for, and the business benefit what we are going to gain by implementing a solution like HANA is one of the fundamental things that we think through. So from that core point, if you see empower your organization, so what are we going to empower by implementing a solution like HANA? So what the customer is going to gain? So from our end, all of us are very clear, people who are in the session, that grabbing an opportunity is one of our fundamental strengths in order to as a part of getting training related to HANA. Since we have been hearing that HANA market is pretty green, and down the line this is where a lot of opportunities we can foresee, and grabbing an opportunity is not a big stuff, provided if you have a right content and right direction of deliverables. Yes. So in the same way, a customer also thinks through, right? If I invest this much of money in implementing a solution like HANA, how am I going to get benefited out of it? So if you see one of the key points here, real-time visibility to complete data for transaction and analytics processing. It's been a journey with these systems of data. I always say data is a dirty business. Okay, so you are in the right place, I can say, because every organization needs data. Every organization does some analysis on top of the data, and they need it. And whatever so the organization you talk about, data is not in a good shape. So we have to cleanse, we have to work on that, we have to create different reports for them to analyze and do some analysis or make some decision making on top of it. So that's the reason I say data is a dirty business. How much ever you do today, you cleanse it, provide the report. Tomorrow, for some reasons, if it gets scrutinized, again we have to work on. So opportunity is always green there. So what it talks, real-time visibility to complete data. So what is meant by real-time visibility? What is the need of it right now? The current trend of business world. Now, if you relate the scenario, maybe a decade back, let's say, we have been facing some challenges with respect to the data analysis, and somehow that is getting addressed by data warehousing solution. So as and when data is growing for a particular organization, we have a challenge in analyzing the data. A million of records or a 2 million of records, in order to analyze it, basically takes some minutes together to populate the data. Imagine if a decision maker, a business user is available there, okay, he needs some data to understand how the sales is happening or how the billing is happening. And on top of that, he has to build up the strategy and have a discussion with the teams and execute that particular plan and see whether it is useful to the organization or not. So in order to perform this cycle to increase the revenue for a particular organization, what a business user needs? Data. But what exactly the challenge I'm saying, whatever the so-called data warehousing solutions that we have been using, maybe a BW or Teradata, Data Stage, whatever it is, the pretty identified thing of these data warehousing solutions, if I talk about BW itself as an example, see, whatever the data you analyze out of this data warehousing solution, the data what you see as a report out of these boxes is 1 day lag. So whatever the transaction that you have done till yesterday will be available for you today. And today's transactional information of your organization will be available to you only tomorrow. So there is a 1 day lag. Though we eventually say that it is a near real time, but we know clearly it is not a real time data, it is just a near real time data. So what exactly we're expecting? So HANA has delivered a powerful solution here, where the moment you post a transaction in any of your transaction systems, that would be your ECC or CRM or HCM or APO, whatever it is, the moment you post a transaction, immediately it has to be available to you in your reporting lab. Understand what the transaction, let's say a customer placed an order, immediately if we are able to see that. Let's say some lead got generated somewhere, immediately if you're able to see that advantage. Okay, my team is performing well. So the sales guy who goes to the customer place and takes those orders and bucketing himself, and we get the data instantly, and I can see his billing when the transaction has happened. Okay, this is the incentive I paid to you. He will be good enough, he will be satisfied, he will run the business a bit more faster to get more revenues to the organization. So data is available to me on a real-time basis. And complete data, and this is one more interesting area. So when I say complete data, not only that, I analyze on top of my OLAP systems, in the sense like whatever the data warehousing solutions that you talk about in the market in general. Prior to HANA, those are the main data source contents for analysis. Okay. So HANA is a solution that not only dependent on OLAP but on OLTP also, where you have a transactional detailed information available. Okay. Using which you can analyze your data for billions and trillions of records. And the data execution should happen in seconds and sub-seconds and nanoseconds. And that is a power. And that's what HANA is all about. Again, a question mark arises here. How exactly it happens, or what are the things that we need to take care? We'll understand it in a couple of minutes. Give me a sec. So if you observe here too, we're talking about query execution, one thing. HANA is so powerful enough in order to execute billions and billions of records in a fraction of seconds. And data availability. So until and unless I bring the information available for a business user to analyze and do some decision making on top of that, I cannot draw more revenues to an organization. No plans, no strategies, right? So I'm talking about key area wherein if I make this information available on a real-time basis to my business community, they utilize this information and do a proper planning and strategy to draw more revenues to the organization. That's how I empower my organization's strength. Maybe from the analytics front we are talking about, and that's what needed, a fundamental thing. Clear? Any questions so far? Now, one more key thing that talks about over here is low TCO. TCO stands for total cost of ownership. And what is a key point? It says non-descriptive to your existing EDW strategy. EDW means enterprise data warehousing. Let's say whatever the example that I was talking about a couple of minutes back regarding data warehousing solutions that are available in place, and 1 day lag of solution is being provided for the business community. Let's say as a part of my investments already, some of the customers went on with the data warehousing solution, just as an example. Okay, from the BW front, if I take it out. For the past 5 years, let's say 5 years or 10 years, I've been using data warehousing solution, and I have invested some 100 million in building that analytical solution, let's say. and I've built close to some 4,000 or 5,000 reports for all my global business community. Now, all of a sudden, since I have some challenges on reading the data with the business warehouse, if I bring in SAP HANA in place, and again I have to reinvest that 100 million and recreate an entire reporting solution, are you going to encourage this in your organization? It's an additional budget of 100 millions in building or recreating the existing solution what you have that you have been doing for the past 10 years. No one accepts, right? No one accepts. So what we say is, let's say your data warehousing solution, if it is in place within your landscape and you have been created some 4,000 or 5,000 reports to your business community, we are not going to disturb any of those reports. They run as is. So the simple thing, what we do is, if your BW as an application layer running on top of a traditional database, maybe Oracle, DB2, MySQL, anything, we migrate from a traditional databases like this to HANA. And whatever the execution of your reports earlier, if you used it to take a million of records, if you use it to take minutes together, now it takes in seconds and sub-seconds. So we're not disturbing any of your landscape. We're just migrating the content from one database to another database called HANA. So I'm stating that HANA is something like a database. So how different is this from or compared to any other traditional databases available in the market? Let's talk about it. Now, as I'm talking about the same content of scenario, whenever we talk about data, it typically gets stored within database, which is nothing but a hard disk, let's say. Okay, let's say I have a hard disk here. And whatever the data present within this hard disk, I'll be utilizing it for my analysis, reports. Let's say I have a reporting platform over here where I analyze the data typically. Now, whenever I need the data over here, I hit the data that is present over here, and this needle pointer searches this entire hard disk, retrieve the data, process the data by the CPU, and we push the data to the reporting layer. That is a typical story that runs at the back end. Now, what do you see here? A bottleneck. So I have a challenge in reading the data from the hard disk. It's taking more time because of what? Because of the IO operation that it has to take care. Input-output operation to read the data from the hard disk, process it, and then deliver to the reporting lab. And that's where minutes of time basically taken. Any system. It's not about BW. So what are we going to do in order to have a better performance of my query? So we thought, let's stop using disk-based solution. So instead of storing the data on top of a disk, let's start storing data on top of a memory or a RAM. So what happens from your reporting lab? Okay, you're going to hit the data that is present on top of your RAM. So what we have noticed, an extremely faster communication of data transfer is possible in RAM compared to your disk. So you read the data, process the data over here, and then push it to the presentation layer. And that's what we do. And when I say we are storing data on top of a RAM or memory, so that is the reason, since we are storing data on top of a memory, you also hear about SAP HANA is an in-memory database. Make a note please somewhere. On a running notes, please make a note of all the key points. The next session when we catch up, we need to talk about this content. I have to recap me with all the content what we are going to undergo today. Okay. So since we are storing data on top of a memory, we call HANA as an in-memory database. And is it just a database that we typically store and maintain it? And for that, do I need to invest crores of rupees? No. If you see the name HANA, H-A-N-A, so it's an appliance, high performance analytical appliance it is. HANA stands for high performance analytical appliance. So it does more than just storing the data. That more is nothing but analytics. Okay. Now some of you might get a question the moment I started saying that I typically end up storing the data on top of a memory or RAM. Questions like, can I store huge amount of data? Can I store huge amount of data on top of it? Isn't RAM expensive? Isn't data volatile on top of a RAM? All these are general questions or concerns that we get when we start hearing about we store typically data on top of our memory. Remember, see this right. How the hardware prices got plummeted. So since the hardware prices got lowered or in an affordable state, we are talking about HANA as a solution right now. You know, the concept of running database on top of a memory came in 1997 itself. You know, by a company called Quick Launch. ClickView itself, yeah. But it was a dream at that point in time because of the hardware prices. But now, since the customers are in an affordable, state, you're talking about a viable solution like HANA. So we have terabytes and petabytes of RAMs are available, and I can store millions and billions and trillions of records on top of it. So whatever the two major concerns you have, can I store huge amount of data? Or isn't RAM expensive? Can be addressed with this line. And one more other major concern what we have is volatility. Yeah, Sharad, we all know, right? Fundamentally, the basics of computers when I started learning, in my schooling, the RAM is a temporary storage area, ROM is a permanent storage area, and the moment power goes off, whatever the data that is present on top of my RAM gets cleared off. This is what I was taught. A second session of my computers, right? Other than my monitor, CPU, and the mouse, keyboard, this is the one, that let us know. RAM, same RAM we are using. Even here also the moment power goes off, entire data gets cleared off. Then how are we going to secure the customer information is one more challenge. So remember, fundamentally what we're going to do is, whatever the transactions that happen, we typically end up saving it on top of a RAM and reading it on top of a RAM, and at regular intervals of time we take the backup of the data from the RAM to the underlying hard disk. The secondary backup storage mechanism we follow, so that since we know disk is a permanent storage in one way, right? So whatever the data that we have on top of my RAM, at regular intervals of time I take the backup into my hard disk as a secondary storage. If something happens, maybe a planned or unplanned outage happens to the system, I can fetch the information or entire committed information back into my RAM again. Okay, so in general, whatever the solutions that we have, as a secondary storage, we talk from disk to disk. One hard disk to another hard disk, secondary storage. Whereas from a solution front of HANA, we talk about a memory to a disk, that's it. So if I ask you a question, what exactly SAP HANA? What's your answer is going to be? Anyone?
It's a in-memory database and it's a high-performance analytical
Appliance.
appliance.
Okay,
Sorry.
perfect. So no more it is faster, blah, blah, blah. It is an in-memory database. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, Sabir. Good. And this is what the fundamental definition of it. So HANA is a flexible, multi-purpose data source agnostic in-memory appliance that combines both hardware and software. So it is a flexible, multi-purpose data source agnostic. One word, data source agnostic. One word, data source agnostic. Got a lot of revenues to SAP. So this is a fact that in the early days of HANA, back in 2011, 2012, we don't have most of the customers from SAP to go with SAP HANA. This is a known fact. I was doing, a lot of POCs that time to get some business to some companies like labs and all. I used to be a freelance consultant as a, pre-sales guy by providing some modeling solutions to the customers and some other major vendors in Bangalore. Okay. So if you see here, the word data source agnostic, very key that it gives an impression wherever the data might be. I can load it into HANA and deliver a solution to you. That's what it is. So a lot of non-SAP customers got attracted with the solution what we have been delivering from the SAP front. A lot of non-SAP customers implemented SAP HANA. And later, the things got changed and they made it mandate by 2024. All the 65,000 plus ERP implementations and 19,000 plus BW implementations needs to go with SAP HANA. They want to replace the traditional databases of their existing application layers to HANA as a database, and that's where we see a lot of opportunities to it. Down the line, still it's going to grow, and that's the future we see. And one more key point it talks about combines both hardware and software, and that is the key thing. How the performance is coming, tell me. How millions and trillions of records can be executed in fraction of seconds? So what is this again? If anyone asks you what exactly HANA, it's a combination of both hardware and software, you can say. So hardware you get it from any of the hardware vendors, and software you get it from SAP. So combined as a solution, both of them should run hand in hand. That's what it is. Both of them should run hand in hand, software and hardware. So what exactly the advantages you see from the hardware front and the software front? So from the hardware side, you see a multi-core architecture. So you have multi-core architecture where you have multiple cores in place to process the data and deliver the results to get a maximum throughput of data. For that reason, we maintain it. Any systems you talk about, and maybe computers. Earlier we used to have Pentium 2, 3, 4. Later on, Core, i2, i3, i4, i5, i7. So what exactly these things talks about? Upgradation of from your i2 or i3 to i5 or i5 to i7. So to increase your laptops processing speed rate, same fundamental thing here. Or I can also give you an example related to the mathematics. Connecting back to the mathematics for the chapter called work time period. So if I give a single task to Sadia to complete, she may need 5 days. Let's say the same task, if I share it across Aditya, Deepak and Sadia, they might finish up in 2 days. I don't pose a question specifying that how many hours that each person spends time in order to complete the task. No, that's not the question over here. But what actually is speeding up the process here? Distribution of work. Same fundamental concept here. Instead of a single processor running your data and delivering the result set, you have multiple cores to process your data. And that's the reason, whatever the millions and billions of records that I talk about, since you have a hardware in place to process your data and deliver the result set, you get your results in seconds and sub-seconds and nanoseconds. Clear? Fundamental reason. Hardware gonna play a key role in this. That's why both hardware and software should run hand in hand as it. But for hardware to run, you need to have a software where you have a row and a column store mechanism. Column oriented data storage mechanism is one of the key things to increase the performance. So whatever the faster query execution, blah blah blah, you heard about it in the market from your friends or peers or anyone. So fundamentally that is happening because you have hardware in place, you have software called HANA in place, and you have a RAM, key things. A column-oriented storage table basically draws a faster results as compared to any other pattern of data, a row or whatever it is. So compression of data basically happens. So since you are storing the data on top of a memory, so memory storage mechanism is different from the top of your regular hard disk. So compression of data happens, partitioning, slicing and dicing the data, and no duplication of data is needed. So all these are some of the advantages that we see from the software side in relation to the hardware to get or to perform this in-memory computing and deliver a faster results. Clear? Any questions so far?
Hi, Sharad.
Yeah, Deepak.
You have to understand, this HANA is only for big enterprises, isn't it? Like if it is a small enterprise, they don't have huge data. So is it really economical for them to go for this or not?
Most of the, it's a good question. Most of them, even startups, went up with an implementation of HANA. A lot of startups. There are a lot of discounts that are going on. It's a big sale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
SAP is giving very big discounts for startups to encourage them to SAP HANA. So not an issue from the investment front. Having a hope that more of data is going to come in down the line. So from the initial stage itself, I have a proper platform in place to maintain the data and deliver the results.
Yeah.
Competitors in the market, but even a startup and mid-level also, if they have enough funds, they are investing. Yeah.
No, it's up to them. Like if they're really planning for long term, then they can get the discounts and get into this. Isn't it? That's what you're saying.
Now SAP is giving a lot of discounts here. And startups in 13, 14, 15 era, very discounts, 70% is of discount. I heard with one of them. Yeah.
And one more question I had regarding this data handling, as in in other data Oracle or maybe all this, you can build a new product according to the company's need and kind of customizing it according to the need, according to the business models. Is it the same with SAP as well? Like, are there any startups who are handling all this case?
There are a lot when independent companies to either they run their shows on top of HANA. Let me give you one classic example, and that's a good question. Okay. Yeah. Now see any of the websites. Now what's happening? It's an e-world right now, internet era, right? Yes. Now if you want to play something earlier, when we don't have such an tremendous, gentlemen, it's a good thing for you to understand in what areas that we can concentrate apart from the transactional analysis. This HANA is okay. There are a lot of intellectual things that are happening at the back end with respect. One of the classic thing is since we have a big breakthrough from the Internet of Things. Okay, if I need to place an order with any other company, Maybe from our personal views, we talk about Flipkart or Amazon or any other stuff. Let's say from the business front, if we talk about, we really know some platforms related to it, and that's where we talk about this web. So let's say if I need to place in an order for a couple of materials, let's say from a company. Typically, maybe I talk about chemical companies, example, or automobile industry, anything. I see they might be end up with lakhs of products, millions of products. Now, the moment I find a search function in the website of a particular so and so called company, I should have a faster processing thing to get that and provide me all the specifications related to the product and the pricing information related to it on my screen. So if it takes some time in running up the show to populate the results set, I may end up with a different site with a different vendor and I place my order over there. Finally, I need a product, right? So if companies, some of the companies running their web world on top of HANA, so that they maintain the entire product information and detailed specifications, pricing, everything within HANA, and they connect to the web of their front end page, as a backend of HANA, so that read capability increases. The moment you get with higher performance or speed, they can read the data in their web screen. Gentlemen, just give me a second. I have to send a mail. At 8 o'clock, I have another batch, and I'll just send a mail to them requesting them for 5 minutes of time. So similar kind of applications, some front-end tools even they were building. Just a customized screens for them to analyze the data that is at the back. And coming back to the architecture part of HANA, so this is what here. So this is an enterprise HANA solution wherein you get a box of a HANA, just wherein wherever the data might be, we typically end up loading the data into it with any of these data warehousing solutions or not exactly data warehousing, ETL tools. We load the information into HANA and then execute different reports on top of it. A typical non-SAP solution, I can say. And this is what the scenario I was talking about. So as a data warehousing solution of BW, every day loads will happen. And whatever the transactions that I had yesterday in my transaction systems, yesterday night, I might have loaded into my BW system. And today when I execute my report, I see yesterday's information via BW, data warehousing solution of SAP. But once SAP HANA came into the picture, what we started doing, we started loading the data into SAP HANA and then executed different reports and executed some stuff and delivered to the business. But in order to talk about a real-time solution, this is what happening. So all your application layers of your SAP, where you drive the business with these application layers, we drive them using the data coming from SAP HANA. So we are going to replace all your traditional databases with HANA as a database. That is a big vision and the plan. And that's the strategy. Whether you're into whatever the entity you talk about it. So migrate your traditional database to HANA as a database, because only just for storing, you pay millions of dollars to the companies like Microsoft and Oracle just for saving. So now SAP saves a lot of revenue because HANA is their own product. They need not pay anything to the other customers. Let's come back to the strategical analysis. Any questions if you have before I tell you the strategy, how exactly we are going to take up the sessions? So, okay, perfect. So typically The sessions gonna take 1 month, 1 week, or 2 weeks, depending upon the content of discussion that we'll end up with. And for sure, within this lap of time, you get minimum 1.5 years of experience, I say, and this is a bold statement of my usual ground that I deliver to all my candidates. Maybe you might get a question specifying how can I gain 1.5 years of experience in just 1 month or 1 month, 1 week or 2 weeks, and it's all depends upon the content what we deal up with. So if you are clearly dealt with providing the right scenarios to see the real flavor of HANA, that's market expectations. If you are able to reach out, and this is what it is. You gaining 1.5 years of experience in next 1 month, 1 week or 2 weeks is not a big deal. Provided you are with me from the day one, reading all the content and working on the assignments that I provide to you, not a big deal. Because I have a lot of examples with me where during the course of the session itself, people got opportunities. Okay. So that's not a big deal, provided if you give your a quality of time to me on a daily basis. Cracking an opportunity related to HANA is not a big stuff. So I'll tell you the strategical ways of selling yourself in the market as a HANA consultant. The thing is, you have to deliver the same in a best way from your end. That's it. So in order to gain, as I told you, whatever the efforts that I put forth, I need a similar kind of interest and efforts from your end to either, so that then only we can succeed. And in order to understand you better and provide you my best service to you to reach out to that particular level of grabbing an opportunity and running yourself as a HANA consultant, we do two interactive discussions to either. So one after 30% of the content, another one after 80% of the content, to make sure where exactly you are and what are the efforts that you have to put forth in order to stabilize yourself and meet the market demands. It's a demand and supply. So you have to be upgraded yourself to the needs of the market, and I help you with respect to it. And you have to, invest more hours in cracking an opportunity related to HANA. So these first two interactive discussions will let you know the kind of questions or where exactly you are, and self-assessment can happen. And the third one, or the very first one, the moment you go for an interview, you can crack an opportunity since you already have an experience in the kind of way you have to deliver yourself or sell yourself in the market. Okay, so prematured, we'll have a discussion related to it. And whatever the documents related to the content, I will be providing it to you timely. You can read them, come back to me if you have any questions. And if any one of you are planning for certification, no worries, you are in the right direction. As I told you, I'm an authorized trainer for HANA. So my daily work is to go for academy training centers and deliver certification programs. Okay. So we know the strategy how I can get you certified. So that's a secondary content. That's where globally from people from other part of the world reach out to me for the certification course. In addition to it, a server will be available for you 24/7 with an integrated platform of business objects, HANA, BODS, ECC. So you can utilize this platform to perform the activities or the assignments that I give for you. Okay. And yep, anytime I will be available for you. You can drop in a mail. I can get back to you with a at the earliest, provided if I have some trainings, it might get delayed, but yeah. So the overall objective for you and for me is to grab an opportunity and flag ourselves as a HANA consultant. So now got a clear idea what exactly HANA? All of you?
Sharath, I just wanted to know about how will you be able to help for the interview questions and everything?
The interactive discussion basically, maybe, yeah, I'm I'm in an online session. So interactive discussion is nothing but the 30–80% of a discussion I was talking about, right? That's an interview level discussion itself. So here, yeah, interview level discussion is what exactly I was talking about, 1 and 2, 30% and 80% of the content. Well then, thanks a lot. Sorry, I'm logging off right now. Hope you've enjoyed the session. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
See you. Bye. Yeah.
Yeah.